moves it forward. It's 5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Monday, March 20th. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Faubourg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Reif.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Shoneman.
Present, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business will be to approve this week's meeting's agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
A motion from Councilman Reif and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. Next, we'll approve the minutes for our previous meeting, which took place on March 6th. I would take a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Liebelt, a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any changes or comments from the council before we take our vote? Okay, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We'll move along to our open forum where we do have a speaker here today. We've got a Mr. Aaron Michael Grant of Groton. Aaron, if you'd make your way to the podium back there, make sure the little green light is on. Try to limit your comments to just a couple, 2-3 minutes if you would be so kind, and we will hear what you've got for us. Welcome to the council.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. About a year ago, I spent a day in our jail here in Brown County. And when I was down there, I got a chance to speak with the inmates. And there was consensus. And they said to me, this is the worst place to be in prison in all of South Dakota. And I said, why? And they told me, look around. 30-foot by 60-foot place, packed, and some people were sleeping on the floor. And they told me, you never get to leave this building. You never get to see the sun. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask humbly if they would be allowed to go outside at least once a day. They need vitamin D like the rest of us. It might even prevent some crime. That's all.
Thanks for joining us here tonight, Aaron. You're probably aware that the county ultimately does control the jail system here in Aberdeen, but we're fortunate to have a good connection with the county, and one of our former council members is actually the sheriff over there, directly oversees that place, and I'll be sure to have a conversation with him as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Move along to our consent calendar. We've got quite a lot of consent calendar items. I would take a motion for approval of this routine city business.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any particulars that anyone on the council would like to discuss before we take our vote on this one? All right then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We'll move along to our single item of old business, which carried over from our March 6th meeting. We've got a possible second reading and final adoption of an ordinance titled 230301, which designates a portion of a public right-of-way as Harvest Road North. We even learned the story behind it while you were gone there, Brett. Glad to see you're back.
Good to be back.
Ken did a great job in your stead, and actually the guy who coined the phrase was with us that night, so we learned all about it. But I trust that nothing is different from the first time that we voted on this.
Correct. No changes since the last time.
All right, then I would take a motion for the final adoption if someone was so inclined.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Northstrop and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any last words before we take our vote from anyone in the council? All right then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup, Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Moving along to new business, we've got our first item, which is titled Public Hearing and Possible Approval of a Resolution 230301R to vacate a public right-of-way for a portion of Poplar Drive public right-of-way and Maple Drive public right-of-way, which is located at 1416 Poplar Drive, 1414 and 1415 Maple Drive, as well as 1717 Olive Drive, all to Yop Bolin at M&K Investment Company. And the City of Aberdeen. Brett, tell us a little bit about that vacation of public right-of-way.
The petitioners are requesting to vacate unused right-of-way. It's actually an undeveloped right-of-way. Their intent is to vacate it and plat all of it into one large lot for the purpose of a residential lot. Staff and Planning Commission recommend approval.
I'll move it.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Reif. Does anyone have any questions for Brett in our planning department? Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Brett, where is this? I missed the meeting where this was the first time we read this one. I was out of town.
Oh, this is actually the first time, so you didn't miss anything just
well, I
yet.
saw this before. Maybe it was in the
In the
zoning.
yeah, it was in the consent calendar earlier.
Okay.
It's pretty much directly north of Aberdeen Christian High School.
Oh yeah, that's right. And that's where all that grass is.
Yep.
And they were, sorry, man,
Go ahead.
they were planning to develop it, and now they're not planning to develop it.
Years and years ago, that was platted for residential subdivision, and it's pretty wet up in that area.
Yeah.
And it went up for sale. It was owned by the I'll say the hospital at the time. Avera owned it, and then they sold it. Mr. Bolin bought it, and again, their intention is to plat it into one large lot and build one home on it.
Go ahead.
One more question. When we're looking at plots like this, or when you're looking at plots like this, and they're, if we rewind time to when this was platted, not the current question, is there low density residential? Like, is there a place where we're saying, well, those need to be at least 2-acre lots or 3-acre lots because it's so wet there, you can't possibly have all these tiny lots?
We do have a low density residential designation. The lots aren't that large, but they could be.
Okay. And you, sorry, Mr. Mayor,
No, go ahead.
you have authority as a planning and zoning office to, or the board at least, to say what's reasonable and what's not reasonable?
That is correct, and then is followed up by the city council for the final approval of that if it is needed.
And so finally, this one's going to be just one lot now.
Just one lot.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Sure thing. Anyone else from the council have any particulars on this one? I have been up in that area, and it is awfully swampy, at least certain times of the year. All right, then, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that first reading, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion does carry. Second item of new business is the public hearing and possible approval of a resolution 230302R, which vacates the public right-of-way on a portion of Chandler Street, public right-of-way, Longtail Lane, public right-of-way, entire Ringneck right-of-way, entire Windsor Lane, public right-of-way, portion of Gooseneck Lake Road, public right-of-way, and the entire Benelli Boulevard, public right-of-way, as well as the entire Bird Dog Drive, public right-of-way, all within the Ringneck Ridge First Subdivision at West Lake LLC. Brett?
Again, this is undeveloped right-of-way that petitioners are requesting to vacate so they can replat the property into a different type of subdivision than what was originally platted several years ago. It's a new owner, so they're looking at doing something a little bit different, and they're also looking at some different road names when they replat it. Staff and Planning Commission recommend approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold, a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Any questions for Brett in our planning department? All right then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call on this one then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got our public hearing and possible approval of a special one-day retail on-sale liquor license for the Boys and Girls Club of Aberdeen area, which does business as Winefest Renaissance. It takes place at their headquarters at 1121 First Avenue Southeast. See nobody from the Boys and Girls Club is here to speak on that, so someone in the council would definitely carry this one if they would be so inclined.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reif, second from Councilman Reinbold. Any last words before we take our vote on this one-day retail on-sale liquor license? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got our request approval to enter into an agreement with Michael Thompson for fire and life safety consultant services, as well as to authorize the city manager to sign that agreement. And here we have the fire chief, Joel White. Joel, welcome.
Yeah, good evening. For those of you that don't know, Fire Marshal Max Thompson has been deployed to Romania for military deployment for approximately 9 to 12 months. So we'll be without his services during that time. So what I'm requesting is that former Fire Marshal Michael Thompson to cover some of his responsibilities in his absence. And some of those would be new developments, fire protection services, alarm checks, things like that.
Move to approve.
Jocelyn, would you take a second on that one?
Oh, sure. Second.
All right, so we've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any questions for the fire chief about this arrangement? Chief, where did the $96 an hour rate come from?
That was a number that was presented by Mike Thompson.
Sounds good. Seems reasonable as far as you guys are concerned with your budget and everything like that, I trust.
Correct.
Sounds good. Any other questions for the fire chief? All right, then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on this one then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the recommendation to award a bid for Fire Station Number 1 roof replacement to Hub City Roofing for the amount of $105,000, as well as to authorize the city manager and finance officer to sign the necessary documents after the document has been approved by our city's attorney. Joel, tell us about that roof.
Sure. Station 1 was built in 1981, and the roof is the current roof, so it's 42 years old. We've had made several leak repairs over the past several years, and it continues to leak. And so it's well needed, and I recommend the approval for $105,000 to Hub City Roofing for the replacement.
I have a question.
Yes,
What is the square footage of that building?
great question. 8,287 square feet.
And they're doing what type of, is it foam, is it shingle, what is it, asphalt?
Sure. What they'll do is they'll remove the current asphalt gravel off the top of it, and they will add a 1.5 inch foam and a rubber liner over the top of it.
Guarantee, is there a 5-year guarantee, 10-year guarantee?
20-year,
20-year.
correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, would someone care to make a motion on this?
I would move that we approve this roofing situation.
Second.
All right. And a second from someone on the council.
second it.
Got a motion from Councilman Liebelt, a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any further questions for our fire chief as it results to this bid that we will be awarding? All right then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reif.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Joel, thanks for joining us tonight. Good to
Yep,
see you
thank
as
you.
always. Next, we've got our possible approval of a bridge reinspection program resolution for use with the South Dakota Department of Transportation retainer contracts. And here to tell us about that is Robin Bobzien. Robin?
We go through this every year. The bridges that we have throughout town normally go through a 2-year inspection process every 2 years, but the 8th Avenue and 10th Avenue Southeast bridges are in a little tougher shape, and we do have load limits posted on them. So we require a little lower load usage on that. We're going to be inspecting all of them this year. The city's responsibility is 20% of the inspection costs. The feds pay for the other 80%. So we're requesting utilizing a local consultant that we have used for as long as I can remember. So we recommend entering into a contract or asking the DOT to enter into a contract with IMEG of Aberdeen.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, a second from Councilwoman Liebelt. Any questions for our city's engineer? All right then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Reif.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Reinbold.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got our request approval to enter into an agreement with Stanek Constructors for the repair of the screw pumps at the final lift. And Robin, will you be telling us about that as well?
Yes. Our guys have made some temporary repairs on our own. We have not been fully successful in making those repairs hold. We've enlisted somebody who's worked on these before and does this type of work. Actually, the foreman, their lead foreman, has done a lot of work on this as well as work at the wastewater treatment plant for those screws. So we would request entering into this contract with them or this agreement and doing it on a time and material basis. We're gonna try to do everything we can to bring that cost down, but right now, they're saying based on using their people and what materials they anticipate, it'll be in that $99,000 range. We're gonna try to get it down as low as we can, but it's a repair we can't avoid. We need to have this operating. Right now, we've got 1 out of 3 of these screw pumps working, which is not enough if we get bad rains or those types of things. We've got to have the extra redundancy for emergency situations. We do have emergency plans in place until we get them up and running, but we need to get this done as soon as possible. So we request the approval of this agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilwoman Fulberg. Any questions for the city engineer on this one?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
How soon will they be able to fix it?
They actually said they should be, once they've been given the go-ahead, they should be able to start within like 3 weeks. So that's our hope, and it's approximately a 4-week timetable to get the work done. So, you know, hopefully within a 2-month time frame, we've got it going.
If I may, Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
I hate to admit, I have no idea what this even is. What the hell is this?
The final lift station is a series of pumps. They would be similar if you can imagine a grain auger, okay? And how a grain auger pulls the grain from the bottom and it corkscrews the material up to the top. That's exactly what this does, and it uses the water's ability, the van der Waals forces in the water, to be able to stay held together as it pulls up this tube. The tube is what's falling apart. It's concrete, and the concrete pieces are letting loose, so they're getting hooked on this auger and causing damage to motors and bearings.
Where is this? Aberdeen WWTP.
This,
Is that the
actually,
treatment plant?
that part of it's wrong. It's actually at 11th and Lloyd. It's a very attractive brick building that was built in the early 80s in a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So if you remember where the old Ark was at, the ice house and that stuff, that was part of our buildings, and now Lamont's have apartment buildings on that property. Our final screw lift is in the northwest corner of 11th and Lloyd.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Rob, is it common to see these 10% contractor fees with these sorts of things?
Well, that's their markup. And so, yeah, that's low for what we've seen in the industry, so.
Got it. Any further discussion on this matter before we take our vote? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fulberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the recommendation on bids for refuse collection unit for Public Works Department, which would award item number 1, cab and chassis, in the amount of $104,520 to Truck Center Companies. Award item number 2, which is the refuse packer body, in the amount of $94,603, less its trade-in allowance of $60,000 to Sanitation Products, and then to declare surplus a 2017 Freightliner as trade-in to Sanitation Products, as well as authorize the city manager and finance officer to sign the necessary documentation after approval by the city attorney. Robin?
So, ironically, we only ended up with the 2 bids, and one is actually for the Packer body, one is for the truck. And the only real option we have here is to accept the lower trade-in value or the higher trade-in value in this case. So we want to take the higher trade-in value. Typically, we're going to get more money from the people who sell the Packer bodies, because they have a market for those units in the future here. So we recommend it as the mayor read, and it is within budget by $800, so we're in good shape.
Move to approve. I'll take a second.
All right, we've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Rife. Any questions on any of these comings and goings of refuse collection equipment? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got a recommendation on bids for water main, frames, grates, hydrants, and sewer pipe, as well as to authorize the city manager and finance officer to sign those documents. Robin, another one for you here tonight.
So we won't go through the specifics here, other than Ferguson Waterworks was the low bid on Schedules A, C, and D, and we recommend approval of that. The fire hydrants, core and main was low. We recommend approval of that, and they're historically fairly tight bids. So that this is not a deal where these suppliers make a great deal of money, but it's volume that they're getting out of this. We appreciate the fact that we can save some money on it in the future instead of buying it off the shelf every time we need something. And typically why we're doing this is because they won't have it on the shelf when we need it. If we have an emergency repair or something, we're able to do it at a little more timely manner. So we recommend approval as shown in the overview, and I didn't check to see how much higher than we paid last year, but I suspect it's going to be in that 10% or more range for most of these products.
Move to approve schedules A, B, C, and D at these recommended bids.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Any questions for the city engineer on this one? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got a possible approval of a change order titled number 2 in the amount of $84,221. Payment request number 3 in the amount of $93,748.10 to Dami Construction for the South Roosevelt Sanitary Sewer Improvements. Robin will tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so one change to what was listed here, actually the total change order amount was that $84,221. The change order number 2 is actually $36,500. So I just wanted to clarify that. Primarily the cost of this is some additional foundation work, rock for the valve pit. As we were digging in past the valve pit with the sanitary sewer, the valve pit is significantly shallower than the pipe we were putting in to the lift station. And because of the high groundwater amounts in that area, part of that valve pit failed. So we had to rebuild the valve pit after we got the pipe in, and we had to build the foundation back up in order to do the stuff. So this is all a result of just having really poor soil conditions and digging past it, and there was no way to protect that valve pit at the time we were doing the work. So we recommend approval. It's no fun to pay these kind of costs, but it was something we had to do in order to get the pipe in. So
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilwoman Liebelt, and this pretty much ties up this project then. Is that correct, or will there be an additional outstanding invoices for
well,
this
we've got the
repair?
pavement replacement yet, pavement and sidewalk replacement. So that will be coming this summer sometime. So we will have that to look forward to yet.
One quick question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Lights included in that?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay.
The lights will be included. Yeah, it's pretty dark through there.
Yeah. Thank you.
And this all took place because of a failure. About how old was that? Was that correct? This was the one that was on Roosevelt South?
It would have been a 70s vintage line. That was typically where that AC pipe was being used, an asbestos cement pipe, and would have been a 70s vintage line.
All right, anything else from the council before we take our vote on this change order and payment request?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
is this the one that, that you're gonna try and get the paving done before school starts then?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay.
All right then, Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thanks for joining us, Robin. Appreciate your insight on all of those items. Next, we'll move along to our possible approval of the South Dakota Department of Transportation Section 5310 ARPA grant agreement for the Aberdeen Ride Line for funds from our fiscal year 2021 apportionment to be spent in 2023. Rich, thanks for joining.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, I left my copy laying on the printer, so I don't remember what the exact figure was, but it was $2,800 and some odd dollars. And that's for use for the 5310 grant, and it's an ARPA grant agreement, as you mentioned. So we'll use that for administrative costs.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reif and a second from Councilman Johnson. Does anyone have any questions on this? All right, Jordan, roll call quick for us then, please.
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got our possible approval of payments for the work on the airport improvement projects, as well as to authorize the city manager to sign those pay requests. We've got payment 10 for snow removal purchases for $920 to Helms. We've got 13 to Helms for the GA apron reconstruction project, total of $3,638.41. As finally, we've got payment number 6 for the runway 1331 rehab light project, also to Helms for $9,983.92. Rich, walk us through these payments, if you would,
So
please.
the first one, payment number 10, these are the final costs, and this was for some engineering documentation and the closeout report to the FAA. We'll get this one paid, and then next month you'll see that final closeout for that project from 2021. That was snow removal acquisition, snow removal equipment. Invoice number 13 is continuing admin work on the GA apron project, and that is a 2022 grant, and that work will start up as soon as we can get contractors in to break some concrete up and replace the apron. And then payment number 6 is for 2022 grant, design grant, and that's for runway 1331, and that's the rehabilitation of that entire runway and replacing lighting and some other FAA nav aids.
Move to approve all three invoices.
Second.
I've got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any questions or comments from anyone on the council? All right. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Rich, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. Next, we'll move along to our review and approval of claims. We've got bills for the list of March 20th. Take a motion to pay our bills.
So moved.
I will second that.
Got a motion from Councilman Northup and a second from Councilman Foberg. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on paying those bills, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Foberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
I abstain as to payments to Sika Fencing, B&B Contracting, and climate control, and vote aye on all other payments.
Mayor Shoneman.
I will abstain. Just a few too many of the little bullet points here for me today, but the motion does carry. Next, we'll move along to our city manager's report. Joe.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just one thing tonight. We've, oftentimes when it's snow removal, you don't hear good news and compliments. But last week, our public works crews were out doing something you don't often see, and that was hauling off a bunch of snow. And that wasn't just because we thought it'd be fun to kill time. If you had driven through the center of town, I'd say in particular the south center of town, where there's a lot of one-way streets, when folks were parked on one side of the street, and then someone would come and park on the other, and because the snow was so far out, they had to park, and it was getting pretty tight to drive down through there with a normal-sized vehicle. We could not get through there with garbage trucks, ambulances, or fire trucks. So that's why that area was cleaned, and it kind of branched out a little bit. It's continuing this week, but not near as much. We're going to focus on some areas that are more for future flood control. But just what was done last week, that was a week-long project of pretty much the streets crew and a few other folks from other crews. But over 800 loads of snow were hauled last week. And I wanted to bring that up because people were so complimentary of it. They were kind of hoping we could come around to every neighborhood in town and do that. Unfortunately, that's not possible, but we did want to mention that. That, again, was one of those things where we brought in folks from several areas, and they worked real hard, and it did look great. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Joe. And we do have an executive session to go to tonight. So I see there's some visitors from the chamber and other places. You guys get what you needed? Oh, the proclamation. Well, I tell you what, it was tucked into the consent calendar, so we don't oftentimes read those, but I'll breeze through this one and then pass it along to you guys since you're here for it. We get a lot of requests for proclamations from big national groups that have not a lot of foothold in our community, and sometimes we like to submit to those requests, but don't always dedicate the time in these meetings. So we do have an official proclamation, has been voted upon by the chamber, of course, in our consent calendar, but I will read the message. It says, whereas agriculture is the foundation of South Dakota's economy and our #1 industry, contributing approximately $32.1 billion to the economy each year and accounting for 30% of South Dakota's total economic output, whereas Brown County is home to over 1,000 farms and ranks #2 in the state with overall agricultural products sold and ranks #1 in the state for market value of crops, whereas the Agricultural Council of America created Ag Day in 1974 with the belief that every American should understand how food and fibers are produced, appreciate the role agriculture plays in providing safe, abundant, and affordable products, value the essential role of agriculture in maintaining a strong economy, and acknowledge and consider career opportunities in the agriculture, food, and fiber industry, whereas the Aberdeen Area Chamber of Commerce's Agribusiness Committee celebrates National Ag Day and National Ag Week each year with the goal of educating local citizens about the importance of agriculture in our daily lives. And now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Travis Shoneman, Mayor of the City of Aberdeen, do proclaim March 21st, 2023 as National Ag Day and March 21st through the 27th as National Ag Week in our City of Aberdeen, and encourage citizens to join me in this observance. So thanks for joining us, guys. We will clear out the room a little bit for a executive session, but I'd be happy to take a picture with you guys if you'd be willing. Sweet.
We can make a motion to go into executive session. We will after.